The A3 troubleshooter department discovers a convicted felon violating the conditions of his probation right under the noses of Louisville Metro government.
And troubleshooter Eric Flack started digging into this story months ago. And Eric, there could be some serious consequences for what you've uncovered.
As the man at the center of our investigation faced questions about why he ignored a judge's order, city leaders faced questions about how they allowed it to happen.
It was a question that could have Christopher Sheitlin feeling the heat.
Did you violate the terms of your probation?
It's a wonderful day out. At least it's not snowing.
And all he wanted to talk about was the weather.
Matter of fact, I got to put my glasses on. It's so nice out.
And football.
Why are you trying to change the subject?
I'll say it's my team.
Ignoring his mounting legal problems, just like Louisville Metro government did. It all started at a U of L football game in 2010 when Sheitlin, the owner of Professional Link Security, was arrested in full uniform for impersonating a police officer so he could watch the game from the sidelines. It was the second time that year Sheitlin was charged with pretending to be a cop.
Commonwealth versus Christopher Sheitlin.
In May, Sheitlin pled guilty. The judge gave him 2 years probation and one clear condition: to stay out of jail.
And his condition was that the defendant not be allowed to work in law enforcement or as a security guard.
He understands he cannot be a security guard or a police officer.
17 days later, there he was. Earpiece in, dozens at his command, some in Professional Link uniforms, others off-duty Louisville Metro police officers. Sheitlin's team responsible to keep out weapons and drugs and keep control.
Y'all so wild in Louisville.
As more than 10,000 people partied at Louisville Metro's Waterfront Park during the Soul Food Festival June 2nd.
First we'll show and tell.
So who would let a convicted felon run security on city property against a judge's orders? Louisville Metro government.
And I'm trying to find out why.
Yeah. I wish I could give you an answer, Eric, but I can't.
We showed Codes and Regulations Director Jim Mims Sheitlin's criminal history. Impersonating a police officer was just the beginning. Court records reveal Sheitlin was convicted of domestic violence in February, then charged with felony forgery days later for falsifying government documents to win a Louisville Metro security contract. Even Mims' own department filed criminal charges against Sheitlin twice after they caught him allegedly working security with a gun without an armed security license. Mims said his staff never should have let a guy with a record like that run security on city property, but Louisville Metro government failed to do its own detective work.
Whose job is it to fact check all this stuff?
Well, some of it clearly falls in our area.
We dug up not one, but 2 event applications for the Soul Food Festival. They listed 2 different security companies. The one signed off on by Codes and Regulations and the Louisville Metro Police Department listed the security provider as Morgan Security Services. But no one ever bothered to contact Morgan Security to see if they would actually be there, which they weren't. It was Sheitlin and Professional Link on the job, something law enforcement might have known if they had ever checked the original event application. Sheitlin's name was right there in black and white.
Would you be willing to look at the video I have of you at the Soul Food Festival and explain it to me?
Beautiful day.
Sheitlin might need to enjoy the fresh air while he can. The Commonwealth Attorney's Office told us they'll make a motion to revoke his probation if they see evidence he's back on the job.
$30,000 from the State Fair Board, almost $50,000 from the Louisville Metro Housing Authority. The now convicted felon got that and more because of loopholes in the way government checks these guys out.
It's definitely a beautiful day today.
Maybe it's the smile that gets Christopher Sheitlin hired by people who handle your money. The Kentucky State Fair Board, the Jefferson County Public School System, Louisville Metro Housing Authority, the federal government.
Hi, Mom.
We uncovered a very different picture of Sheitlin: theft of labor, impersonating a police officer, forging documents to get a government contract.
There seem to be plenty of red flags. How did you guys not see any of this stuff?
Well, remember, our job is to follow the city's process.
The process is to check with the Louisville Metro Revenue Commission and the federal government's excluded parties list system, which looks at tax records and business practices, but not criminal backgrounds. The State Fair Board paid Scheitlin's company, Professional Link, more than $31,000 to do security at last year's State Fair, even though he was under indictment for felonies, impersonating a police officer and perjury, and charged with carrying a gun while working security at a local club without an armed security license. JCPS put Sheitlin on the payroll too, more than $9,000 to provide security at a training center for its teachers. Sheitlin even did a deal with the federal government. A program called Kentuckiana Works paid Sheitlin more than $1,200 in taxpayer money to hire welfare recipients working to stay off the streets as he worked to stay out of jail.
Do you think this was an irresponsible use of taxpayer money?
I do not think this was an irresponsible use of taxpayer money.
Executive Director Michael Gritton says it's an isolated incident, and the checks and balances used by local government to hire private companies usually works. It didn't for the Louisville Metro Housing Authority. LMHA paid Sheitlin more than $47,000 to provide armed security at Dosker Manor. Only Scheitlin's armed security license was revoked months earlier because of all of his criminal charges. LMHA found out, fired Sheitlin, and then filed more criminal charges against him for faking the license. Kentuckiana Works eventually gave Sheitlin the boot as well, when some of those welfare recipients he got paid to hire said their paychecks bounced.
Now, if you had known any of this beforehand, would you have signed that contract with Professional Link?
Well, I'm not the expert about that either because...
Again, he said he's just following the city's process, a process that didn't work too well for JCPS. The school board terminated Scheitlin's contract when he didn't show up for 34 straight days. Last month, we discovered Sheitlin was back on the job, this time with approval from the city of Louisville.
Let's just have a party in here.
Sheitlin was hired by a private company to do security at Louisville Metro's Waterfront Park for the Soul Food Festival. Codes and Regulations Director Jim Mims said it probably wasn't a good idea to let a convicted felon run security for more than 10,000 people on city property just weeks after a Jefferson County judge ordered Sheitlin not to do security as a condition of his probation.
You have any questions?
Oh, man.
But no one from the city noticed Scheitlin's name on the original event application since someone changed it to a different company's name on the security permit. Despite all his problems, Sheitlin told us his future is bright.
Do you think you should be in the security business?
You know what? It's a beautiful day, and I'll let you guys deal with that.
After all, his criminal record hasn't seemed to slow him down so far.
Were you working as a security guard?
No, I wasn't.
Christopher Sheitlin pleaded his case to a judge Monday afternoon, the same judge who ordered him not to work as a security guard or police officer after giving him 2 years probation for impersonating a police officer, perjury, and forgery. 10 days after we aired the video of Sheitlin and his company, Professional Link, doing security for an event at Waterfront Park, probation officers searched his home and found 10 security shirts and paperwork showing he had been working at a local security company. They also found a shirt with Scheitlin's name and detective embroidered on the chest, and even more in his car, including 10 rounds of .45 caliber ammunition.
And also that vehicle was wired for a siren, a PA system, which, you know, would you only want to see in a police vehicle.
Assistant Commonwealth's attorney, Christy Gray, filed a motion to revoke Scheitlin's probation, calling the Wave 3 photographer who captured the video to testify to corroborate the video evidence included in our investigative report. Sheitlin professed his innocence, telling the judge he was just at the music festival having a good time.
We were just stopping by to see the concert, and Wave 3 came and ran up to me, and so to avoid them, I decided to leave.
But on Monday, Shaitlin left the hearing in handcuffs after the judge sentenced him to 2 years in a place where security is already provided.